And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome back for the second year in a row the incredible New York Times best-selling author, Sally Hepworth, here to give us the inside scoop on her brand new red-hot book, The Younger Wife. Sally, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Hello, thank you for having me back. Before I tell you about the book, I just want you to know that I'm in a hotel room and there is an ice machine right outside my door that I just heard every few minutes. It goes clank, 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 clank. So I'm not holding anyone captive in the basement or anything. That is just, or maybe I am.
The clanking takes on the tone of the SOS code of Morse code.
Yeah, that's the next book. But let me tell you about this book, which is The Younger Wife, which is actually about a family, but that doesn't make as good a title as The Younger Wife. So this family that is about is called the Aston family. It's made up of Stephen Aston, who is a heart surgeon. He's 60 odd. He's a scratch golfer. He's handsome. He's at the top of his game. There's his wife, Pam, who he has been married to for over 30 years, and she is the mother of his two adult daughters, Rachel and Tully. And the book kicks off when Stephen announces to his daughters that he is getting married to a woman who is younger than they are. And that is something that is pretty scandalous already before we take into account that he's still married to their mother, who is in an advanced care facility with dementia. So it's a pretty big upheaval in this family's life. And I call it an upside down book because it starts with the ending, and the opening scene is the wedding between Stephen and his new younger wife, Heather. And that scene is told from the perspective of a mystery wedding guest who witnesses them get married. And then they go off into the sacristy to sign the paperwork, and then they hear a scream. And a moment later, the wedding celebrant comes back in onto the altar, and her white pantsuit is covered in blood. And from there, we go back a year in time, and we find out all the things that lead up to that event at the wedding. We find out who was injured, who did it, and why.
Ooh, dun dun dun. Sally Hepworth, you know how to hook us good. And I can't wait to get into every single dirty, delicious detail. First, I just want to welcome everybody. So we are streaming live to 6 different destinations on Facebook and YouTube. So no matter where you're watching from, you're in the right place. This is the right time. If you've been here before, you know how it works. And if you're new, welcome. We're so happy to have you. Here's how it works. Every Monday for hashtag Mystery Monday, because you know Mondays can be murder, I give you my hand-picked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask Sally about The Younger Wife. What inspired it? How long did it take her to write it? What about this title? What about these sisters, Rachel and Tully? What about the dad? What about Heather? Oh my God, so much scandal, so much juice. Get the questions going in the comments. We'll get right into them. They're already pouring in. Stephanie Cooper, welcome to the conversation.
Hi,
she is Bookstagrammer extraordinaire at Fire Pits of Books. She gave this book a rave review, or should I say a lit review. Stephanie, welcome to the conversation. Susie says, hi, Sara and Sally. I'm watching from Seattle. Susie.
Hi, Susie.
Welcome to the conversation. Anissa Joy, welcome.
Hi, Anissa.
She says, hello, Sara and Sally. I loved this book. I am now president of the Sally Hepworth fan club. Well, we are very happy to see that. And I see your profile picture there is you and Sally.
Oh, yes.
I love that. Stephanie Cooper says she is obsessed with this book. Now, Stephanie, I know you read and review a lot of books as a book reviewer. Tell us what obsessed you about this book. Tell us in the comments. Brenda says, hello, I'm watching from Rochester, Minnesota. I've been looking forward to this all day. Yay, Brenda, welcome to the conversation so much. Thanks so much for tuning in. Neil saying, hey, y'all. Hey, Neil.
Y'all. That's my favorite Southern expression. I said it about 25 times when I was in South Carolina.
It's so wonderfully inclusive. It's so great. Anissa Joy said she loved this book. Stephanie saying, thank you for unblocking me on Instagram, Sally, LOL.
I accidentally blocked about 50 people, including my mum. I don't know how I did it. I don't know what I pressed, and then anyway, I seem to have undone it. But this is the skills of an author when she has to do technical things.
Oh my gosh, so Sally blocked her actual mom. That is hilarious. Oh
Poor
my
mum.
goodness.
She
Claudia
didn't even
said,
realize though.
wow. Yes, her mom's thinking, I haven't seen her on Instagram. Oh well, she must be busy. We have a mysterious friend saying hello from Hawaii. I bet this is the incredible Marcy Ann Cagle, founder of Bitchy Bookworms, the biggest and best book club on Facebook with 110,000 members. She and her best friend Christina founded the group together. Christina Cook founded this group together. It's my favorite group on Facebook. Marcy, welcome to the conversation. She said you are one of her favorite authors. Yay!
Thank you, Marcy.
Marcy is amazing. She rates all of her books by tornadoes on how twisty they are. And you
I love that.
5 full tornadoes. Yay.
Yes.
Twisty. Neil said, okay, I love this book. I don't want to take away from it, but I must have more Fern and Wally from the other sister, the good sister. Please, can there be a movie or a sequel with a love story? Neil's, so many of us are feeling like that. Sally, we need more Fern. Give us the scoop.
Well, it's funny because I have already written the next book, which is called The Soulmate. That does not have any Fern in it, but the book after that, which I'm starting to write now, has got a little cameo from Fern, and it's actually from before the good sister, and it's when she was living in a foster home with her sister Rose. So you can look out for that.
Wow. Now, is that being brought back by popular demand? Because I know Christina Cook, founder of Bitchy Bookworms, also said she needed more Fern. I'm seeing a lot of buzz about Fern. Or did you just need to have more Fern in your life, Sally?
It came from me. I loved her as a character, and I really wanted to write a whole prequel of her story. And when she was living in the foster home, but because it is a sort of different beast writing a prequel, and there's so many bits and pieces. And the more I started to look into how I would do that, the more I realized it wasn't Fern's story that I needed to tell, but she was going to be in it. So it's like a cameo more than her own role. But I think I've heard a lot of people say things like Neil, so I hope that it'll be a welcome cameo from people.
Yay. Neil's, tell us what you loved about Fern and what you love about Sally's writing. I loved so much about Fern. I loved, first of all, that she was neurodiverse. I loved her authenticity, her realness, how in touch with her own needs she was. She needed the headphones, she put them on. And I loved how she just said what was on her mind. She was so funny, very hilarious. I loved Fern. Thank you for rating her. Anissa is giving us all the hearts for the younger wife. Neil says tuning in from North Carolina. Welcome. Cindy says she just finished the book 20 minutes ago. Okay, good reading, Cindy. Down to the wire, but you did it. She said it was such a great ride. Thank you. Cindy, so much. Oh, yay. Marcy's saying she's so happy to hear that she too loved Fern. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yay, more Fern. Niels is saying she loved Fern's innocence and she didn't care what people thought. The most confident person in the world. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Stephanie sharing that her 15-year-old daughter has a language processing disorder and she just adored Fern so much. She even cried in random spots while reading that book. Stephanie, thank you for sharing that with us today.
Thank you, Stephanie.
So Sally, let's get into the younger wife. So tell us what inspired you to write the story of this family, of these sisters, their dad, and the new younger wife, while Pam, their mother, is still very much alive and very much adored by them.
I know. Well, there were 3 little bits of inspiration that came together to make this book. The first one was the younger wives that were showing up in my life. And, by younger, I don't mean me. I'm 6 years younger than my husband, which I call myself his younger wife. But what I was noticing in my friendship circle was that two of my friends, in one case, my friend's father, and the other case, my friend's father-in-law, had both found partners that were younger than their daughter or their daughter-in-law. So a good big age difference. And that obviously had caused some upheaval in their families, and they were working through that. So it had kind of, it was in my realm, in my sphere, and I was observing it. But in and of itself, telling the story of a younger wife is nothing new or interesting, really. We've always seen them. They're not always a bad thing. You know, we've seen Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas, and they've done very well. And I'm not ageist. Age is just a number. But what I did think, and this was really the second kind of piece of inspiration, is that one thing I love to do in my novels is to challenge cliches. And, you know, the cliche we see of younger wives in fiction, in TV, in media is the younger wife who's a bimbo, who's a gold digger, who's got daddy issues. She's probably very pretty and attractive. We see those tropes all the time. What we don't see is the motivations of the older husband. You know, like we just assume that as the older husband, he's just interested in her because she's young, which is possibly selling the older husband short, right? Like, you know, if we're being generous. Or, you know, is it just that we're stuck in those old ways? And so I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to flip it a little bit and look at younger wives from the perspective of what is the husband looking for in this situation, and what's he getting out of it, and what are his motives, instead of always looking at hers. So I had that as a sort of background, but I then needed to develop the story, and I thought, well, what is going to thrust this story forward? What is going to be the mystery element of it that we're going to need to uncover? And it was around that time that I got a phone call from my great auntie Gwen, who is like my grandmother.
My favorite character in your life. Well,
yes, she was. We were very, very close, and unfortunately she passed away in January, but not before she saw that I dedicated the book to her. So that was just a lovely thing to be able to leave with her. But a couple of years ago, when I was plotting or planning this book, she called me after she'd been taken to the hospital, and she said, "Sally, I need you to go to my house and get my hot water bottle."
Oh my gosh, hot water bottle.
And I thought, that's a weird thing to ask for. Like, what kind of hospital is this? Is it not heated? You know, why does she want this? And I was more concerned with the fact that she had a fall, and I wanted to get to her. And she was insistent. She said, "No, go to my house and get my hot water bottle." And she wouldn't take any offers. I offered my hot water bottle. I said I'd buy her one because her house was kind of out of the way. She said no. And then she said, "It's in my spare room behind a chest of drawers underneath a pile of newspapers." And I thought, now I want to go get the hot water bottle. Something's going on here. Why does she want it? And as I drove over to her side of town, I had the family on the chat, and we were all theorizing on why she wanted this hot water bottle. You know, my brothers thought maybe she was a granny drug dealer and, you know, it was full of her drugs. I thought maybe there were body parts in it, you know, like she was a 90-something, you know, single woman, you know, maybe a spurned lover or something along the way, and how perverse if she wanted to keep those body parts close in, you know, her final moments. And so some sort of trophy, I don't know. And so I got to her house, and I was just at fever pitch. I just could not wait to find out what was in this hot water bottle. And so I burst into the house. I retrieved it from down the back of the chest of drawers, and it's quite fat and chunky. And I open it up, and it's full of cash, tens of thousands of dollars. It was over $50,000 in elastic bands inside this hot water bottle. And Gwen was a woman of modest means, right? So she was not someone with a lot of money that she was hiding all over the place. And at that point, I thought maybe she is a granny drug dealer. You know, this is strange. But when I did get to her and I said, you know, where did all this come from? She told me it was a bit of pension fraud. Poor sweet thing. She'd been taking out her pension each week and putting it away because otherwise they might have cut her pension. and it was a bit of fear of banks, and she'd been stashing it away, and it didn't matter then that it had a good explanation, because my writer's brain had started ticking, and I knew that was going to form the heart of the mystery in this book.
Oh my God. I love that Auntie Gwen. So if you follow Sally on Instagram, you know exactly, you have a visual of great Auntie Gwen. And if you aren't following Sally Hepworth, you are missing out. I'm going to drop the link to her Instagram right now, because first of all, Sally is hilarious. She does Writerly Wednesdays every Wednesday, and she drops gems. So you're going to want to be there for that. But she also does all these hilarious videos of her husband, Christian, aka Mr. Sally Hepworth, her kids, Clem and Eloise. Oh my God, you have to, I'm dropping it right now. Everybody go follow her if you're not already, because you are missing out. Oh my gosh. Okay. So many comments are coming in. Nikki Miracle, welcome to the conversation. Nikki's an amazing Bookstagrammer, book reviewer, and she is crying laughing, she says, hearing the story of great Auntie Gwen and the $50,000 water bottle. I am loving this. Sally Henry, welcome to the conversation. She said, when my grandmother died, we found thousands of dollars in a hole in her mattress. All these grannies who lived through the Great Depression, right? They are putting it away for a rainy day. This is hilarious.
It's a thing.
Brenda's saying she loves your Instagram. She's already following. Brenda, it's the best author Instagram out there, right? She is hilarious and fabulous. Courtney, welcome to the conversation. Also a Bookstagrammer extraordinaire. She says, I am a fan of all books. Hepworth, love Courtney.
Oh, thank you.
She is Caffeine and Reads. Nikki Miracle says, hi, I love your books. Yes, yay. So great. Nikki, tell us what you love about them. Stephanie saying, I'm a stepmom, but I'm a year older than my husband, and my girls were each born months before his girls. Interesting. Marcy saying this book is, or maybe it's not Marcy, we have a mystery person here. Mystery guest saying this book is amazing. Couldn't agree more. Neil's saying awkward, ha ha ha. I couldn't imagine. I'm so glad Sally didn't demonize the younger wife. Yes. Yeah. So your care and treatment of Heather, because I liked that you said the word trope. You didn't want to do what had already been done. So Heather's not just a bimbo or a gold digger. She is a self-possessed. She has a job. She's an interior designer. She's not just there to, cozy up to some older rich guy. She is a whole person in and of herself. I also appreciated that. So thank you, Niels, for the comment.
Thank you, Niels.
I'm scrolling through. Shantae, welcome to the conversation, saying my grandmother was born in 1910, and when she died, we found an envelope with cash in the basement, endless $100 bills.
Wow.
Oh my God. All of these granny drug dealer mattress stuffing. I love it. Brenda saying her father-in-law used a candy box in the freezer to stash cash.
Wow.
Oh my God. Apparently,
we've all learned that when an elderly person in your life dies, look everywhere in their house. The other place I've heard of is in the walls. If you've got paneling in the walls, a lot of people have told me their grandparents or parents have hidden money in the walls.
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. Nikki saying what she loves about your books are all of the suspense. Nikki, you have just honed in on what I also really love, and I bet so many of us love. So Sally, one thing I noticed as I was reading The Younger Wife, but also The Good Sister, The Mother-in-Law, all of your books, you ratchet up the tension to the point where as a person riddled with anxiety, I am sweating through my shirt because every single person has so much at stake. So Tully, worried about her kids, worried about her marriage and their, as her husband says, new financial situation. So I underlined that phrase because I thought just by saying what her husband called their new financial situation, immediately you're like, oh crap, like something stressful here, and she's only getting 4 hours of sleep, but she's getting to Pilates, and she's sleep deprived, she's crazed, she's worried about her kids, she's already at a simmer and her pot's about to boil over. Same with Rachel. You can tell she's from page 1 got a lot on the hook. How do you do it from a craft perspective to ratchet up the tension so effectively to get that suspense that Nikki's talking about?
You know, I was talking about this with another Boston author yesterday,
Mm.
and she actually taught writing. And I was saying to her, I'm so bad at the how. You know, that's the part that I hear so many writers articulate so well. And they say, this is what I do, and this is how I do it, and this is the method. And I wish I was able to say it articulately. It's not my skill. It's something that comes from the gut. And while I did, and I do advocate for people to learn the craft of writing as opposed to, just I think that there is so much to learn from learning the craft and the structure. For me, at this point, having written 7 books, I don't really kind of consciously think I'm ready for some more tension. I have to do this. It's just something that as I write, I think uh, every chapter I want something to happen or I'm bored. And so if I'm bored, I know the reader's going to be bored. And so things just kind of keep escalating. And yeah, it's not a process or a set of rules that I'm following. It's just a gut feeling of what
Ooh.
needs to happen.
So Sally, first of all, I love that you're trusting your gut. That's something that and I know a lot of other women in particular are working on, that ability to trust ourselves. So when you're writing from the gut, which amazing, is that first draft pretty suspenseful, pretty tense and tension inducing, or is that something that your first drafts are kind of tame and you go back and add that in? How does that work?
No, usually it's the opposite. So the first
Ooh.
draft will be so full of things happening that I have to just bring it down.
Oh my
a little
God.
bit because in the first draft anything is possible, and you know that no one's going to read it, and so you really can let yourself go places that
Okay.
that that you don't have to question too much, because you can always bring it down a notch. And my first instinct is always to take it up a notch. So but I know certainly, and I always say on Writerly Wednesday and when I'm talking about writers, this is how I do it. It's not the way, and certainly some of my favorite authors do it a completely different way. But for me, the first draft is wild and free and dramatic, and from there all of those subsequent drafts are about bringing it a little bit more into line with what a book should be.
Wow. So Sally, my mind is blown. If this is the toned down version, I am not sure that my anxiety levels could handle Sally Draft One. Like that might be too much for
Good.
me. I'd
Well,
have to
that's
read
why I
like
don't
one
publish
thing.
draft one. I think it would be too much for anyone.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay. Ooh, great question coming in from Anissa. She wants to know, Sally, what do you do when you are having trouble writing? And what part of okay, so let's pause there and then we'll take the second part of the question. What do you do do you have off days? What do you do about them?
Yeah, of course. I have off days. My off days are less like staring at a blank page, that old kind of writer's block. It's less that, and it's more on a bad day, I'm procrastinating a lot. Like I'm still at my desk, but I'm more likely to be looking at Instagram, having a conversation, tidying my shoes or something. It's when I just don't want to be doing it. And it's fear that drives that, and it's all the other things. So what do I do? Usually I do other things that I need to do for my job that aren't writing. Because for example, there might be other projects that I have on the go, maybe a website rebrand, maybe I have an interview, that I've got to do for publicity, maybe I've got to write a blurb, or I've got to read a book for another author. And now I'm at the point where I'm a full-time author. There's always other work to do that, it may not be the bread and butter of actually writing the book, which is what I should be doing, but it's at least still something that is still useful. And I find if I do that for a little while, I then feel a little bit of accomplishment, and then I will get back to the words. So it, for me, and I have ADHD, which I talk about very openly. So I can find it hard to focus, but it's a glorious thing writing, to be able to just do that for a bit, and then I turn back, and then I'll do the writing for a bit, and then I might go back and do something else. So that always works for me. I always in the end want to come back to the writing, because that's my fave. And that's probably the second part of the question, is the writing, the first drafts, when it's wild and where I'm getting to know those characters and I'm feeling them come to life. That's my favorite bit, except book tours, which are now my favorite bit.
Book tours are our favorite bit too, Sally, getting to see you in person, getting to talk to you. I like the idea. I struggle with concentration as well, and I struggle with procrastination as well. So thank you for sharing that, because I think there's a lot of shame around that, where it's like,
Oh,
just focus. What's wrong with you? And it's like, I actually can't. That's the problem.
yeah.
And so I like that you're open about that. And I like that you also share that you give yourself permission to do something else. Cause I think so many times that we feel this pressure to stay there and gut through it. And that doesn't work, does it? No.
No.
Very cool. And I love that you said, I always want to come back to the writing.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Stephanie says, what I found interesting was that Heather fell in love with Stephen because how she witnessed him loving Pamela, his first wife. Let's talk about that, Sally.
Yeah. Look, I again, like I talked about, I hate cliches. I hated the idea that um that either and I'm trying to think how to not give away spoilers too much, but certainly, just talking about the first half of the book, I didn't want Heather to be an evil younger wife, and I didn't want Stephen to be an awful, only interested in younger women villain. And so, what we see at the beginning of the book is a loving husband to his wife who has dementia, who's caring for her very well. And this new woman that comes in that isn't, a bad person either. She fell in love with him not because of his money, or even though money was appealing to her, but not because of the reasons that we think, where you want things. For her, money meant security and all of the things that she didn't have growing up.
Hmm.
And kindness, I think, was one of the big things that she fell in love with about Stephen. And yeah, for me, I love books that make people human and don't caricature people. And
Hmm.
so I'm glad that thank you, Stephanie, because that's what I was going for. So I'm glad.
I love that because, and I don't think this is a spoiler because it's really very early on. Heather shows up to redecorate their house, and to redecorate Stephen and his wife Pamela's house,
Mm,
and so we see Heather as a character as well, and she's bearing witness to his love for his wife, and then very quickly she sees that Pamela is afflicted with Alzheimer's, and sees his tenderness toward her. Oh my gosh, I'm like actually getting emotional. But it's painful and it's lovely.
mm.
What was your research process like into the Alzheimer's part of it?
Well, I actually wrote a book about early onset Alzheimer's. My second book, The Things We Keep, was about a woman with early onset Alzheimer's. And I did a lot of research for that book. And I always talk about one of my favorite authors, Lisa Genova, who wrote Still Alice. I really, adore that book. And she just did so much research there that I was able to kind of glean. And for that book, I also interviewed a number of families of people with Alzheimer's. My sister-in-law's mother also had Alzheimer's. A number of people close to the family, and so in writing this book, I was really able to lean on some of the research that I had done in the past, and particularly since this book was not as cerebral. It wasn't into as much into the medical facts as it was into what they as the family would experience. And that was something that my family have experienced, the repeating of questions, the moments where you do have a connection and they're making sense and then suddenly they're not, moments of aggression, moments of things that sound true but maybe they're not, and the heartbreak that causes a family. So that Pamela was built around that.
Well,
Yeah, shout out to Lisa Genova. I
shout
love
out to
her.
Lisa Genova. I love Lisa Genova. She's a really dear friend of mine. I loved Still Alice, and I loved seeing a compassionate, deeply human portrayal of Alzheimer's in Pamela as well. I did not know that you had experienced that in your own family. So thank you for sharing that. I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody's comments because there's so many coming in. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to get to every single one of them. Okay. Brenda saying you absolutely have to go through everything, every last thing when cleaning out a house. I did not know. And now I'm kicking myself.
Including hot water bottles.
Oh my God, including hot water bottles. A mysterious guessing. I love that things are not always what they seem. Yes, talking about Heather, talking about Stephen. Fantastic point. Thank you for that. Sally, do you know what will happen in the story when you start it, or does it evolve in as you are writing it? Share your process with us.
Well, kind of both. So then I suppose the answer is I don't know. I think I know at the start what's going to happen because I always plot, mostly because my publisher does want to know what I'm writing before I write it. I've been lucky enough to have all of my books contracted before I've started writing since The Secrets of Midwives, which was my first. And so when I start with an idea, my publisher asks me to submit a synopsis, which forces me to kind of think through what's going to happen in the book at a high level. I then usually put the synopsis away and I write. I don't refer back to it. And so it's pretty rare that my book will end up looking like that synopsis at the end. I think The Mother-in-Law was pretty close, the closest of all of my books, but in general, they look quite different because different things happen than you expect. You know, a 3-page synopsis is not an entire book. And when you write a 3-page synopsis, you don't know that, Heather, would have a past. That whole part of the story evolved as I wrote it. For example, Rachel's backstory evolved as I wrote it. And those things all have a dovetail effect and usually, hopefully, lead into a better conclusion than the one that I'd come up with in the first instance. But for me and for my publisher, we all feel a little bit better if we go into it with a bit of a plan before we start, even if we end up abandoning it.
Ooh, wow. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for that backstory. And that question, I just popped into Mystery and Thriller Mavis. That question is coming from the wonderful Laurel Wallison, joining us live from Miami tonight. She is a fashionista extraordinaire, a stylist. Laurel, thank you so much for the great question. Thank you for watching. Cindy said, why weren't there any markings on the necks of Heather and at least one other character? I think it was Pamela.
Yes, I'm just worried this is a bit of a spoiler.
Okay, let's, you know what?
But
let's
if you slide into my DMs, let's I'll tell you about that.
Ooh, great question. Thank you, Cindy. And okay, here's a good one. How you write charmingly dark books when you are such a bright personality. Dawn
Hi,
Fowler.
Dawn.
Thank you for the question.
I think this is the Dawn that I met the other night. Maybe she can confirm that. But I love that. Someone has called my books charmingly dark, which I really like. And I agree. I was shocked when I first found out that my books were shelved in crime. I thought I'm much too happy to write crime. I wear yellow shirts, and I did have yellow nail polish until it all just chipped off. And if I write crime, I'm going to have dark hair and bangs and glasses, and it's really, I'm going to have to get a new wardrobe. So, and I'm too smiley. But I think in short, we all have a bit of darkness in us and we all have a bit of lightness in us. And I don't know, I think I am a happy person. I think people are good, but I also love when stakes are high in books and in fiction. And for me, that usually means life or death. And so that means that there has to be something dark in there. And, my husband always calls, I like to watch those shows like Law and Order SVU and Line of Duty and some of those ones about the real bad guys. And my husband calls them my nasty shows and he won't watch them with me. But I guess I do, despite all the smiles and the neon nail polish, I guess I have got some darkness in me as well.
Ooh, okay. Don't let the blonde hair and the nice outfits and the bright pink lipstick fool ya. Sally Hepworth has a dark side. You heard it here first, everybody. If you're watching from a private Facebook group, I just popped the link in here. If you want to enable us to see your profile picture, you can click here and click yes. If not, no worries whatsoever. This is a mystery and thriller show. Stay mysterious. We're here for it. Dawn is saying it is her.
Oh,
Yay.
hi, Dawn.
Yay. Thank you so much for the great question, Dawn, and thank you for the great answer, Sally. Thanks for all the hearts up on Facebook, you guys. Okay, so People Magazine calls this stunningly clever. Congratulations on that. Kate Morton, New York Times bestseller, raving, smart, suspenseful, and brimming with secrets. Congratulations on that rave review, Sally. Let's talk about the secrets. So do you know all the secrets up front, or do you go back and put those in, or do you tone down the secrets a la the suspense toning down?
Both. So sometimes I will have some secrets that I know about and what I have planned. And other times it takes me all the way to the end where I'm kind of trying to wrap things up and bring things together. And I'm trying, there's a knotty part that I think I don't know my way out. I don't know how to do this. And sometimes I think, oh, what if this person's been keeping a secret? Then that would help me get out of this situation that I have created. And then I go backwards and do it that way. It could happen in any way. And this is why I always say, if you want to know how to write a book, ask someone that's written one book. Because they'll say, this is what you do it exactly like this. But when you've written 7 books and you've got ADHD, all I know is that you can write a book any way you want, and every time it will be different, as it is for me, and every time it will be a slightly different, it'll be backwards, forwards. I feel like a liar because every time I bring out a book, I'll tell you my process is a little bit different because it is this time.
Wow. So do you feel like your process is evolving? Are you getting to be a quicker writer or a better writer, or just is the story is different?
Yeah, I wish I was getting quicker or better. No. I think it's just different. I think that also for me, I get very easily bored, and for me, my normal is that it's always different.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. Thanks for the inside scoop, Sally. Brenda says there are some comments from ARC readers. So that's advanced review copies for those who may not know, who go out early to reviewers. She said there's some comments on Goodreads that say you reworked the ending for the final version. Is this true?
It is true. Yes. And I can talk about that in a vague term without giving away any spoilers. But if anyone does want to talk about it with spoilers later, I'm actually doing a book group with Robin Call in a month. So to give everyone time, where we will be having a spoiler or a chat with spoilers, so we can talk through the ending, but in a spoiler-free way now. Sorry, by the way, you can go on to Robin Call's Instagram account, which is at Robin, ROBIN, Call, KALL.
I'll pull that up right now. Robin's amazing.
Amazing.
So great. Yay.
And so, yes, I did refine the ending. They're not vastly, the 2 endings are not vastly different. It's one paragraph that gets tweaked in the epilogue and one paragraph in the chapter before that. And the reason that I did that is that I wanted the ending to be ambiguous for a particular reason. And what I didn't anticipate was that readers would interpret it, but by and large, one way and not the way that I intended it. And in fact, the way that it was being interpreted was actually the opposite of what I meant, and kind of the opposite of what I stand for. And so I realized that I needed to clarify it a little bit more in order for it to be read the way I intended it. So it was, as I said, just small changes to 2 paragraphs, but it's been out for 6 months in Australia now, and they got that new ending, and it seems to have been clear. So I'm hoping that it is clear in the refined version here in the States.
Wow.
But yeah.
So neither you nor the editors nor the proofreaders, the copy editor, because it's not just you poofing it out into the world. So your developmental editor, your copy editor, your line editor, the proofer, everybody was clear on this, but the feedback from the readers was that
it hadn't got all the way to the end because
okay.
it was the advanced
Okay.
copy, and it was just the e-copy. So the by the time it got to the printed arcs, even in the States, it had been changed, but for the NetGalley or the e-copy, it was. And so that copy has been edited in a macro way, but it hasn't had the copy edit or the proofread. So I picked it up before it got to that, and so perhaps it would have been picked up at that stage anyway. But I'm happy with how it is in the final version. So
oh my God, this is fascinating to hear about the revised ending. Okay, very, very cool. I just want to let everyone know that anyone who's interested in joining the amazing Robin call, she is absolutely fabulous. I know Robin personally. She is wonderful. Anyone who wants to join her book club meetup on May 11th, I just popped the link in the comments. So no matter where you're watching from, here is the link. So you can click and register for the event right there. Brenda, thank you for the fabulous question. Sally, thank you for the fascinating answer. Someone is saying that they snuck out of work for a minute to be able to watch. Oh, thank you so much. We're so honored and we won't tell. Our lips are zipped.
The secret's safe with us.
If anyone can keep his secret, I feel like it is Sally Hepworth. So Jane Harper, who's one of my favorite authors, she's an incredible Australian author. And I love how she writes about the environment as its own character, whether it's the bush, whether it's Tasmania, wherever. She captures the essence of nature. And I love how she brings it to life like nobody else does. She raved about this book, Sally. She said it is completely compulsive. I totally agree. She said Sally Hepworth delivers with this stay up late, just one more chapter gem. Congratulations on that fabulous review.
Thank you, James. One of my favorite authors too, and I'm lucky enough to know her as well. So anyone who has not read any Jane Harper books, The Dry, The Forces of Nature, The Lost Man, which is my favorite of her four, and then The Survivors, they're just all wonderful reads, and another Australian author. So I love to promote them.
She's absolutely brilliant. We have 3 minutes left. I bet we could take one or two more questions, everybody. So get your comments going in the questions. Thank you for all the love. Thank you for all the hearts up. We love you guys too. Thank you so much for joining with us. And wait, Sally, perhaps now is a good time to announce the special giveaway. So Sally has signed a special message to 3 lucky winners. So if you want to read this book and get the secret message, stay tuned for the giveaway. I will be giving away 3 signed copies of this incredible book that I am loving so much. Dawn is saying she loves Jane Harper books too. Jane Harper is on the show with us. So yay. So everybody stay tuned. I will be posting details about the giveaway on Instagram and in Mystery and Thriller Ravens. I'll post the link there. Someone saying, cannot wait to read this latest gem. Michelle, welcome to the conversation. She said, what a fantastic interview. Catch a clue. Hey, Wendy. She said, wow, that's right. The giveaway is going to be so exciting. Susie saying, thank you both for the great conversation. I love your country, Sally. My husband and I toured Australia in 2007.
Aww.
I love Australia. I lived in Brisbane. I am a huge fan. I can't wait to go back. Stephanie saying, sounds like a tongue twister. Sally has a special signature message. Yes, a special secret signature message. Try that one, Stephanie. So everybody, if you are not already in the Mystery and Thriller Ravens Facebook group, you got to join that now, because that's where all the good tea is spilled. So join the Facebook group. I'm popping it in the link there, but I will also be posting the giveaway on Instagram, so you'll have plenty of chances to win. Meanwhile, if you have got to have your copy now, and let me tell you something, you have got to have your copy now. It is out, you guys. It's only been out for 6 days here in the US, and you can grab your copy tonight from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore, Murder by the Book. So I'm posting the link in the comments right now. Grab it now, because you guys, this book is so freaking good. Like, it is just, I love this book. I love these characters. I love these people. And you are going to want to read it too. So grab your copy. Here's the link, and then pop over to Mystery and Thriller Mavens and join us to continue the conversation. We are out of time. So thank you so much for joining us. Sally Hepworth, thank you for joining us for the second year in a row. Everybody, order this book now. The link is right here. And then come talk more with us about all things mysteries and thrillers. And the younger wife over at Mystery and Thriller Maven, Susie, saying, I'm so excited to read this book. Brenda says, haha, the tongue twister. Also, does Sally sell seashells by the seashore? Oh my God.
do. Yeah.
Sara and
thank
Sally
you
sell
all
seashells.
for coming. And thank you so much, Sara, for this gorgeous interview. And the third time we've got to catch up in the last week. This is just a dream come true. I'm going to have to just catch up with you all the time when we're back.
You must. It's been such a joy to host you again. And I can't wait to host you again when your next book comes out next year.
Me too.
Yay. All right, everybody, stay tuned for the top of the hour. Erica Forensic is coming on, New York Times editor, book choice, LA Times Best Crime Book of the Year, 8:00 Eastern, 20 minutes. I'll see you then. Everybody, have a great night.